What is up, everybody, man? Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Coaching. I am John Kitchens, and I have the man from Columbus, Ohio, Mr. Jon Harp with us. What's happening, man?
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Doing good, bud. Morning. How are things up in OH?
Things are going pretty good. A little chilly this morning from the last couple of days last week, but it's April, so you'll have that from time to time, but not too bad. Not too bad. Still didn't need a coat this morning, so that's always positive, right?
That is always a good thing, right? You don't have to grab that as you're heading out the door, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, jumping in here with us today, and just diving in and who knows where the conversation will go.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be here. Ready to just provide as much value as I can to the group.
Yeah, no, definitely a ton of value. You can definitely add. So very cool. So give a little background, share a little bit, real estate wise, a little bit about you and, kind of the course of your career, is pretty cool to see and understand, and, the evolution and the growth for sure.
Yeah. And, you've been a part of it. NAEA has been a part of it for the whole ride. So, I got licensed and jumped into real estate right after college in 2011. And I was fortunate and lucky. And I'll tell everyone to this day, I got lucky and was able to connect with my mentor and still my team lead. Been with him since day one, Ryan Really. And, I always say I was lucky because the story is, and I graduated college. I went for sports management from Ohio State. Quickly found out that I was going to be selling probably season tickets somewhere, whether it was like Blue Jackets here locally or some small farm town, farm team, in the middle of nowhere, right? Selling season tickets for AAA baseball team or something like that. So that's when HGTV started becoming a little bit more popular, right? In 2011, my parents always bought older homes, fixed them up, not to sell them, but to live in. So I always loved that investment side of real estate, putting in the work, fixing it up. So I had randomly emailed people that I found online. I didn't know if they're agents or anything, right? And I wasn't licensed yet. And I got connected with a team lead from a Keller Williams office, met with her. And she said, hey, I had a gentleman who's looking to build a team here in my office. And now looking back on it, he was my age. I'm 32. So he was 32, 33, and I was 22 at the time. Yeah. So, got connected with Ryan, joined his team within like 2-3 weeks of me graduating college. And, the rest is history. I've been with him since that point. And I always say I got lucky, and this is why I'm passionate about giving back to the real estate community and agents, is because I know majority of people don't have that right off the bat, right? They usually have some struggles, some pain points. They're on their own, they're lost, they're on their own island. I never experienced that. And what Ryan provided me was, he provided me a mentor. He is a brother to me. I'm closer to him than probably 99% of my own family. He provided me coaching through NAEA. He was with you guys from, I think, day one almost of NAEA starting up. And, Cliff Freeman was my first coach, and he taught me scripts and internet leads. And I've had internet leads since almost day one. 2012 is when we really started hitting our Boomtown leads and getting that dialed in and started. So, I always felt like I was always lucky and fortunate, and, it's my duty and my obligation to give back to other real estate agents, whether that's here locally or, across the country.
Yeah, no. And kind of dive a little bit deeper there. I have this belief for people getting into getting into real estate, starting their career, they've got to be on a team. I really believe that. There's just so many hats to wear, balls to juggle, that being on a team removes some of those to where you can focus on, the things that matter in this business, and you can learn those other things as you go. And if it's right for you to kind of graduate up off that team and start maybe do your own thing, but at least in the beginning, you're not trying to learn all of these different aspects. So kind of touch on that a little bit, your thoughts about that.
I'm 100% right there with you. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I started, on a team and still on a team. But I tell people I would not be where I'm at now if I wasn't on a team and or with Ryan from the jump, right? Like, I tell agents, I don't care if it's just for 6 months or the first 12 months, go to a team, but more specifically, you need to find a team that actually is going to provide you business, right? Like most agents, the biggest thing in real estate is most agents don't know where their next transaction is going to come from or where their next client's coming from, right?
Right.
And not every team is set up the same way to help agents figure out where their next business or client is coming from, right? And so for me, I'm like, go out. If someone comes to our team, I say, go out and interview multiple teams, right? See exactly what they're going to give you. Tell them to show you exactly what they're going to give you. I'm okay with opening up my boomtown and saying, hey, here's 15,000 leads to call through. And you get that day one, right? Because that allows them to go in and start doing real estate activities right away. So, and then, on top of that, it's the support, understanding contracts, understanding documents, how things go in real estate. It's just not about going and showing homes and listing appointments. There's a lot of other things that go into it where the support comes into play. So I encourage, join a team, but make sure they have certain things that they're going to be able to put in your pocket as far as leads, deals, transactions, support staff, whatever it may be, to help you get to the next step. And if you decide the team is for you, then stay on the team, right? If you decide the team's not for you after, 12 months or whatever, then, move on and go and do your own thing.
Right. So, obviously, you're talking about, you just kind of shared, hey, where's the next deal going to come from, being able to provide those opportunities. But what else is important, in what you guys provide from a value perspective to agents trying to, come on board? What else is important that agents need new getting into the business and getting on a team?
Accountability. A lot of people get into real estate for one or two things: more money, or they want freedom, right? And a lot of people, I would tell every single agent this: most people get into real estate to get away from being told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, right? They're usually coming from a different career. They are transitioning. They want to get out of corporate life. They want some more flexibility, right, in their day, and that's possible. But the agents that are the most successful in this business typically have to tell themselves what to do, when to do it, and how to do it on a consistent basis. And they treat it like a corporate job, right? Like there's checks and balances to their schedule that they have to do. Or they go out and they build a team and they leverage out some of those activities.
Right.
So I tell agents, you have to be self-disciplined to make sure you're hitting your IPAs, income producing activities, right? And most people, because of the flexibility and the freedom, they get lazy because there's too much time in the day. And they don't know, and this is for newer agents and experienced agents, right? Yeah. It's being disciplined to your calendar. And that was probably one of the first. There's a couple of things that NAEA and Cliff taught me from the beginning, and that is tracking your numbers and dialing in your calendar. Yes. And tracking your numbers is your roadmap to your business, and it also can be the roadmap to your day. And then your calendar tells you exactly what's going on. And then you have to be disciplined in order to, I color coordinate my calendar. So red in my calendar is a can't miss appointment. A showing goes in there. A listing appointment would go in there. Those are can't misses, but also prospecting, making those phone calls were can't miss. So those were red. This in my calendar is a can't miss. I would never blow off, this this video, right? Or I would never blow off doing a showing or a listing. So, but why do we do that when it's our income producing activities? Right. Because we're always like, oh, we can move that to later in the day. Well, then later in the day comes and you're out doing showings and you don't get to it, right? So the freedom that real estate provides you, if you're not disciplined to your calendar, you know, I always say that the free time is going to eat you alive, because, you know, we're going to be lazy, right? We're going to push those things off and say, oh, I'll just do double tomorrow. Tomorrow right. comes, and then you're going to be like, oh no, I'll just do it the next day. And I'm just as guilty, you know, of that. But the most successful people in our business, those income producing activities, they hit those things consistently every single day. And if they do have to move it, they move it, but they still hit it that right. day. They make that a priority to their business.
Income. Yeah. I love that. Let's not mistake the beer, right? The IPA,
yeah.
Income producing activity. So yeah. No, that's fantastic. Right. Those are really kind of non-negotiables. And, I'm a firm believer in the calendar, and, can take a look at your calendar and I can tell you what, kind of what's going to be in your bank account, 90 days from now. So
yeah,
really just being really, disciplined and consistent to that and really that process. And, I love that what you talked about coming out of a different career, and I say, structure your day kind of with an employee mindset. You're also, focused on results, but, hey, you had to get in, you were accountable to the job. Well, stay accountable to the job. And you still, even though you feel like you have the flexibility, you have, the freedom, but still structure your time to the job, because you do. Yeah. And, you are in a function within an organizational structure, which means you have a job. Right. Yeah. I don't care. Hey, I'm an agent. I have all this freedom. I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah. But if you're doing something and you're in an organizational structure, meaning you're on the org chart somewhere, you have a job. The only way that you don't have a job is if you're not on the org chart. Yeah. And so that's, just that mindset and that belief and that thinking. So don't fall into that hole.
Yeah. And, it's something that I still struggle with, right? And you're helping me with is, breaking it down into 3 priorities in a quarter, right? And if it's an activity that doesn't match one of those 3, then it's a distraction, right? And I'm trying to still work on that, right? Transition out of, applying it to your sales career and prospecting, but, me as more on the management side of things, of what do I really need to focus on, then everything else becomes a distraction. So I got to put those IPAs, for the team in my calendar every single day. So I'm focusing on those. So yeah, it's a constant struggle for a lot of us.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's
to get to the next level, you have to do it though.
Yeah, it is the discipline to the structure, being clear on what gets in your calendar and what doesn't. And, we always talk about, right, it's progress, not perfection.
Yeah. And to me, when I was actively selling, and even to this day, I'm more of a morning person. We talked about it when I was just out, for the 2-day mastermind, and I'd rather get up and control my morning. I always felt like I could control my morning. So I always did my IPAs first thing in the morning. And I coach our agents this too, do the work and then reward yourself. So if I got in, and this probably goes back, and at the time it wasn't planned like this, but to go back to the very beginning when I got started, right? Fresh out of college, all of my friends were working their 9 to 5s. I go and I start working for Ryan. And I was his admin at first as I was going through real estate school. He told me work started at 10. He about roll up about 11 to 12, right? And this was the summer of I started with him in April 2011. I graduated in March of 2011. By the summertime, Friday, probably at least once or twice a week, we would go to either the local water park and hang out in the adult lazy river and have adult beverages in the afternoon, or we would go to this place where they had a swim up bar, an in-ground pool with a swim up bar. So I'm 22 years old. My friends are all working, and I'm hanging out at the pool doing real estate and having some adult beverages. But looking back on it, how that happened was he would say, "Hey, come into the office. We're gonna bang out these things," or whether it was phone calls, our income producing activities. And if we get that stuff done, we're going to go and reward ourselves. And back then it was just two of us, right? Three of us, with Ashley, our admin, joining us. And, we joke about it now, but Ryan and I would leave her at the office and we would go have fun. But I coach our agents. She
was cussing you guys, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I coach our agents that now, like, if you guys do the income producing activities and you have the rest of the day of no showings or something along, go and enjoy that time off. Go reward yourself. Because if you do the income producing activities every single morning, you're going to have success down the road.
Yeah.
And the book, Power of Consistency, I'm a big reader. And he talks about you can't do the right things consistently and get the wrong results. Right. So if you do those income producing activities every single day, you may have that one day where you have nothing in your calendar. Go enjoy it. But eventually you're going to have showings lining up. You're going to have listing appointments lining up, and your afternoons, evenings, and weekends are going to be full.
For sure.
At the time, we just thought we were having fun.
Yeah.
But looking back at it now, we're actually rewarding our behavior for putting in the work.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of recovery too, right? You push and then recover. And so, there's even more of a science to it. And, just depending upon kind of your operating system, everybody's operating system is a little different. And, somebody that is good at getting things, quickly across the finish line and meeting deadlines, they need to recover. So, if your operating system is somebody where you're wired to where, man, I can hit a deadline, I'm great, right? Maybe last minute, but I can hit that deadline. You've also got to build in the recovery process as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then I was just living the life, right, of that real estate lifestyle of, having that freedom, we did work, we did work nights and weekends, and I did work long hours, but, if it was a random Tuesday, I got to do whatever I want if I had nothing in my calendar.
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get distracted by some of that, right? Like even the successful people, they forget, you talked about free days, and buffer days, and I forget the third one. Focus days, right? Like, as we grew the team, like, the free days kind of went on the wayside because, now we had more. It wasn't just Ryan and I and Ashley. We had more agents and more responsibilities to make sure that, we're dialed in, but, always going back to why did we get into real estate? And I'll tell you one thing that Ryan talks to us a lot about is, design your life first and then work around your life, not work and then life around your work.
That's a great point. That is right. When you look at, what goes in the calendar first, life has to go in the calendar first. Those high lifetime value activities have to go in the calendar first, then work. And that's where a lot of people get tripped up, is that they've got it backwards. And even real estate agents, right? Real estate agents are the worst. It's work first and then everything else. And it's backwards. So it's high lifetime value activities, relationships, taking care of yourself. Those go in first, and then work, and then everything else. And usually what happens is there's not much room for everything else when you put things, in the right order.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even Anna, my fiance, has it dialed in to where she has to send me a calendar invite for things that we're doing, like a date or whatever. If it's not in my calendar, then it's not happening. So like I live by my calendar. That is my roadmap, my GPS, my day.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if it doesn't make the calendar, it usually does not happen. So that's at least not intentionally, right? There's usually no intent around that for sure. No, that's awesome. And so you talked about you mentioned a couple things there, and really you talked about the discipline to those activities. I know you're just coming off of a kind of a little 30-day challenge. So, talk a little bit about that and the discipline around, kind of what you uncovered from that process.
Yeah. So my fiance, Anna, she did a 30-day challenge back in January, clean eating, trying to live a healthier lifestyle. Basically, it was getting rid of sugar, dairy, soy, no gluten, no alcohol for 30 days. And I saw what it did for her We're getting married this year. Last year we were supposed to get married and we had to push it to this year. And I saw, the benefits for her, and just by what we put into our bodies, how that can change a lot of things for us, not
Sure.
just weight, but energy and mental and happiness and all of that stuff. Right. And things that we don't really think about or are taboo to talk about. Right. Because we all want to be mentally strong. But so for a while I've been talking about losing weight, and I'm that guy that if it's junk food, typically I'm all about it. And I don't eat clean, I don't eat healthy, and I wanted to challenge myself. When I was in high school, I ran cross country, and my dad would always say, run lean and run mean, right? And it was more of a mental mindset of like, yeah, the 5K sucks, but you just got to get through it, right? And it's a mental challenge. It's a mental game. And I haven't done anything really, and probably since then, that really mentally challenged me to where I had to be disciplined and push through a lot of things that were going to be distractions to me, or overcome those situations. So for me, this was a mental test, as well as I wanted to be healthier. And it was 30 days. I cut out coffee. I cut out energy drinks. I cut out alcohol completely. And like I said, no soy, no gluten, no dairy, no sugar. And I was able to complete that. I survived the trip out to Texas for the 2-day mastermind, flying and trying to eat clean, being around other real estate agents at an event. Obviously, you guys all know what that's like. But I did it, right? And it was the mental challenge of me having to be disciplined, me having to plan ahead. I'm a procrastinator typically, right? Having to plan ahead. And if I didn't plan ahead, I knew I better figure it out, right? Especially lunches and dinners. I had to figure something out, or, I was going to be hurting and starving, right? So, but it was a mental challenge. So I just completed that on today's Tuesday night. And yesterday I dove right back into a 30-day challenge of me exercising every day for 45 minutes at least. So I hit that. Today's my second day of starting that, and I get up at 4:30 because I'm a morning person, right? So I got to get it done in the morning, because if it doesn't get done in the morning, typically it doesn't happen.
Right.
But I got to get up at 4:30, so I hit the gym at 5 to stay on track for my normal daily schedule of what I have going on. So, and again, it's more to test my mental toughness and stay disciplined. And I will tell you this, and any agent that I talk to, if you don't make something a priority, a top priority, it's never going to happen. I didn't make my health or eating clean or trying to lose weight or anything like that a top priority until this past month, right? This past 30 days. Before, I would say, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the gym, 3 times this week. Or, I never really did the healthy thing because I knew I'd fail at that. But like, I never made it that priority. And a lot of agents, to relate this to the real estate side, they don't make their income producing activities a top priority. And if you don't do that, you're never going to have the consistent success.
And I think too, Jon, putting a measurable around it, right? So a measurable, anything that when we say is a measurable is a number. So putting a number around it and having to know that number. And if you ask, say, hey, Jon, you tell me you got 3 priorities. What are the 3 measurables to those priorities? And if you can only remember 2 of the 3, then that third one that you can't remember is obviously not a priority. You're not committed to that priority. And so putting that measurable, knowing what they are, looking at them all the time, what are those targets? And if you can remember them, what the numbers are, where you're at in relation to that target, then it really is a priority. Otherwise, it's not.
And it's never, and I'll keep repeating it. It's never, even in my own, whether it's personal or business, it's never going to happen or matter until you make it a top priority. Until you make it that can't miss. Right. And it's the only thing you focus on. I know that's something that you're helping me with on my quarterly priorities, right? And I got to, for me, make a mental shift as I transition personally out of selling real estate, and I'm still getting the referral calls and the past client calls, you know, for me, those are, yes, like the commissions and all that stuff would be great. But ultimately, I know deep down, those are distractions from my quarterly priorities of what we have to put in place here to make sure I'm helping the team get to the next step.
Right.
And it's a constant struggle, you know, it's a back and forth until you get it dialed in, until you say, nope, this is enough. It's never going to happen.
Yeah. And I think that's a great lesson, right? You know, I remember in Cincinnati a couple of years ago at Mastermind, Brent Gove, you know, telling the room, you know, hey, a lot of you in here need to sell fewer transactions so you can focus on the bigger priority. And, you know, it's the same process you're going through. It's like, oh, that would be great. I can go. That's a slam dunk. That's easy. But it's like, yeah, but, you know, that's taking time away that you can be focused on what you say you're committed to. And it's just a really good lesson for everybody. And, you know, it's when you're not clear on, you know, the mountaintop, the destination that you're really in pursuit of, you'll say yes to things that you really should be saying no to. So I think that's just a really, really good lesson. So, you know, coming out of that 30-day challenge, obviously you jumped right into another one. What did you learn? I mean, obviously learning something to want to jump back in and do another one. What were some of the key takeaways that you learned through that process?
The biggest one is discipline. You know, it takes discipline. It takes the willpower to say no to certain things. You know, I think what really helped me in the beginning was I put myself in situations that would tempt me, and I was able to say no, you know, whether it was happy hours, food, whatever it may be, to where when I got to the point of coming out to hang out with you guys, you know, it was fairly easy, right? Willpower, right? Mindset. It's a mindset shift. You know, it helps you stay dialed in and on target. And food wise, you know, it did help me, with, you know, on the healthy side of things. I ended up losing, I think, 10 pounds the last day. I think the most I lost was 12. But I ended about 10 pounds. And now it's changing some of I'm not going to continue that lifestyle, but I'm going to continue parts of it, right? Like one thing I also threw in was fasting. But I didn't stay as dedicated to the intermittent fasting part of it as the other stuff. But, you know, that's something that's probably going to continue too. I'm only going to eat between 12 and 8, you know, and, you know, so there's parts of that I'm going to take with me. Sure. I'm just not going to get as crazy because I love Italian food. I love bread. So, you know, I just got to say no to some of those. Yeah. You know, you have spaghetti and stuff in front of me and all that stuff. But, you know, it's just saying no, not saying yes to those things all the time, right? Thinking about what I'm actually putting in my body. So, you know, it helps me in multiple ways. Yeah,
100%. And no, that's great. Obviously, like I said, you know, there were some great lessons there to carry over and into the new aspect. You mentioned, you know, kind of, and I know this about you, definitely kind of a reader at, you know, just devouring as much content as you can. What have been some really good reads lately that have had, you know, an impact not only on, you know, maybe business, but also life?
Yeah. You know, 3 come off the top of my head right away from this year. Work by referral. So, you know, my whole business was built on internet leads. You know, I'm not from Columbus. I had no sphere of influence. My friends were broke college kids. So internet leads is how I built my business. Sphere of influence, you know, is now becoming a thing from all my past clients and friends that I know now. But work by referral, quick read. I read it in 24 hours. It's by Brian Buffini. And I love the books that are simple principles and practices, right? Like it's nothing crazy, but it comes down to consistency, right? So work by referral, Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. She talks about things that you know, vulnerability and empathy and, you know, leading with those things in mind, right, is something that I've always struggled with, you know, and it made me stop and think about, you know, how can I do that? Or yeah, I do need to add that, or I need to get rid of this, right? So that's one that I read this year that I really enjoyed. And then The Power of Consistency. And I think why that one hit me this year was because it was like, and I told you this, it aligned with everything I was doing at the time, right? Like it was during the 30 days. I just got done with the 2-day mastermind where you were asked a question by Renee, what's, out of all of the people that you've coached, what is the one thing that separates the people that get to the next level, that get to the mountaintop, and those that don't? And you said one word, and that's discipline.
Yep.
Right? And that tied into the 30 days. And anytime I go to an event, a conference, whatever it is, read a book, I try to take away only one or two things, because obviously all of them is great, but if you don't actually come back and implement, none of it matters. Right? Like people, and I get caught in this with reading, people read and then they just keep reading another book. They don't actually stop, think, how can I apply this, implement it, any of those things.
Right.
But The Power of Consistency, he talks about, he doesn't say the word affirmations, but it's affirmations, spending 15 minutes every single day, going over, and it's actually 3 things. Well, you can have as many as you want, but the topics are, what do I want? What do I want to become? And then what do I want to contribute? So I actually pulled it. I got my 3 priorities at the top for this quarter. And then I wrote out, what do I want to accomplish?
Yeah.
And, it's only 15 minutes every single day. And again, going back to priorities, like I've hit this, but not consistently. Right. So, but it's here and it's next to me. And I wrote it out and I thought about it. And it takes discipline, because people say it's only 15 minutes, but it takes discipline in order to hit those, to actually go somewhere, be quiet, don't have distractions, and actually go through these. I have 7, go through these 7 for the next 15 minutes and just repeat it to myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Something too, that's pretty cool, that you can do. So, what everybody, listening in, what Jon just showed, this little device right here that we look at, I think statistically 80 to 400 times every day, people are looking at this thing right here. So if you're going to look at it, at least have something in there that's powerful. So like even on my screen, and I got this from Holly, she took a picture of her vision board. And so every time she looks at her phone, it's a picture of her vision board. So she's seeing that. So I saw what she was doing. And then I go back to the power, like you were talking about, the power of affirmations. And on mine, those are all of the affirmations that I have written down. And so every time that I look at my phone, I see those, right? And so just without even trying, I see them. I'm reading a couple of them every time. And so that really, seeps in to back there in the background where it's constantly running in the back of our mind. And so, like for you, being able to take that picture of that, and every time you pick up this device, you're like, you see it and you're like, and it's always at the forefront of your mind, even though it's running in the background. So it's really, really powerful.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. Mine is our total debt that we have, because for me, the only reason why, I do what I do is because I love to travel. Right. And I want that ultimate freedom. And you can't have that ultimate freedom, in my opinion, unless you're kind of living that debt-free lifestyle where you have nothing holding you back and nothing holding you down. So that's the priority, right? How fast can I get debt-free?
Right.
And that's student loans, house, cars,
Sure.
credit cards, all of it.
Sure.
Because once I can get to that point, Dave Ramsey, I get into Dave Ramsey, and I forget about Dave Ramsey, and I get into it. But, I go back and forth with it. But it's so true. For what I want to do is, if I'm not tied down to some sort of debt or house or whatever, then I can do what I want to accomplish in life, and that's to travel.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I mean, you've taken the time to get clear, what that looks like for you, and kind of starting with the end in mind, and then reverse engineer from there. And we it's everything's a process, right? Right things, right order. And you can't be intentional with what you're doing the next 90 days if you don't know what you're working towards. So you got to figure out what that big, hairy, audacious goal is for you, not only in your business, more importantly in your life, because then
Yep.
like what you were talking about, what Ryan talks about is you can design the work, design the business to support you moving closer to your goal, your BHAG, your personal mountaintop that you're chasing. And then you can structure from there. Okay, what are all the ways to accomplish that? And then get the right strategy in place and then focus on the priorities at that point.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
And for me,
awesome,
look, I'm only living once. I only got one shot at this. So I think, and we talked about it at the mastermind. I mean, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, why are we getting distracted by the things that don't matter? Right. Like for me, I love to buy dumb stuff. You know, it's a distraction to the ultimate goal. Right.
Yeah.
So going back to that word, discipline, it has to be a priority. Right. And I know that. But what's the ultimate goal? For me, I don't want to work till I'm 60 or 70 years old. I want to enjoy my retirement at like 40. I got 8 years.
Yeah.
And it's doable, right? It's definitely doable. So yeah, you know, it goes back to that priority and your BHAG.
Right. 100%. I mean, that's it. It's just those two things that really matter. Everything else, you know, you figure out along the way, but those two things you can be really, really intentional about. Man. So, you know, just kind of for you at a transition kind of in your career, you know, it's about 10-year cycle. It's kind of about the same for everybody. You kind of at this crossroads, this transition. So for you, you know, right now in your life, I mean, what's the most important thing for you right now?
The most important thing, I would say a couple things. I mean, giving back to the real estate community, whether that's here locally. You know, I think our industry is so flawed and broken for, you know, new agents, and the failure rate, I don't feel like it has to be as high as what it really is. I think there's an opportunity in the market that, you know, if agents come together, especially the ones from the top, and help and lead, you know, everyone else, our industry could be way better. You know, I know that's a huge task and goal. And I know that, you know, new agents, you know, you're not going to be able to make everyone successful. You know, I get that.
Right.
But I don't feel like the failure rate has to be as high as what it is, right? Because at the end of the day,
it is high.
You know, ego gets in the way of a lot of people succeeding. Some people like myself would, if I didn't have the right mentor, like I wouldn't be in the business. You know, the disc profile, everyone leads with the disc profile. To me, I'm an SC, you know, so like if I didn't have Ryan, I would have been lost. I wouldn't have known what to do. Right. And, you know, we're all, if you're in the right environment and with the right people and they're giving and they're helping you, you know, we're just copying each other and implementing it, tweaking it, and putting it into our business and into our markets. And so for me, it's sharing, right? Doing more, sharing, opening up the books. Here's how we do this. Here's how we do that. You know, not being afraid to give our secrets away, you know, to give our secrets away, because most of the time we're never going to compete with that agent on a listing or for a buyer or whatever the case may be. So, and most agents, when you give it away, they're not going to implement it anyways.
Nope.
So I think that's the biggest thing. And then the second thing is just happiness, right? Like designing the lifestyle that Anna and I want to live. And it's going to take some time to get there, but yeah, those are the two big things.
Yeah, I love that. And I know, you know, one of the ways you're giving back, and you've really kind of, you know, cannonballed into the deep end with this is, you know, Clubhouse, you know, that platform. What have been some of your takeaways or ahas about that platform as you've kind of committed to it over the last 30, 60 days?
Yeah. That platform speaks to me a lot. I love podcasting. You know, I got reading books, I got podcasting, and then Clubhouse, which is an agent on our team. You know, he said to me one day, it's basically like when people ask, like, what's Clubhouse? And he came up with, it's an interactive podcast, right? It's typically on a topic. You know, you can raise your hand, you can communicate with people all across the world, people that you wouldn't even have access to. Sunday morning at noon Eastern Standard Time, 9, I think, Pacific Time, the two founders of Clubhouse lead a room. You can raise your hand and ask them questions, right? And there's just people from all over the world that are way ahead of me in real estate, way ahead of me in business, and they're sharing and they're giving. And that's what I want to align with. And, you know, some days I don't get any nuggets from it, and some days I get a ton of nuggets from it, but it's showing up consistently. And I try to get as many agents that I know to join, because you just never know. You know, like I took two things that I took at different times in different rooms, brought them together and helped an agent with him and I brainstormed on this, but an expired letter campaign. You know, hitting expireds in this market, but with a video from a QR code. So there's a letter that you typed out. On that letter is a QR code. The QR code leads to a video. The video part I actually got from Joel, because he does videos for Joel Hollow, because he has his agents do videos of his buyers to the seller.
Yeah.
Right. So the QR code I got from Clubhouse. So we did the QR code, and it's a video. It's a 1 to 2 minute video of the buyer basically just saying, hey, I've missed out on 5 different houses, and I came across your house. You had wanted to sell it at one point in the past. If you're still open to selling it, I would love to have a conversation with you. So that's the QR code. So now we can track who scans it, how many letters we send out versus how many scans we get. And then we're going to track, again, going back to the first part of what EA and Cliff taught me, was tracking your numbers. That gives us the law of averages, right? So the first buyer he did that with, I think he sent out 12 letters. So these are houses that he's handpicked that meet the criteria, that meet the location that the buyer's looking for. So we don't have to worry about that. The only thing we have to worry about is the inside condition.
Right.
Of the 12 letters, he had 5 scans. He got 1 phone call, and the seller actually called their old agent that they had it listed with. So the listing agent called our agent, scheduled a showing, wrote up a contract, in contract. No competing on, you know, appraisal gaps, highest and best, nothing like that. So, awesome, right? Like, okay, that was 12, 5, and 1. Are those the numbers, or what's the next, right? So now the second time, he didn't do it to where the client, he kind of knew his client's criteria, but he did it for a wider area.
Okay.
He did 42 letters. I think he ended up having 14, 15 scans. 1 phone call directly from the seller to the agent was actually going to write up the contract, and then the seller changed their mind. So I did the showing with his second client, was about to write the contract, seller changed their mind, and the agent got a little upset and down because, you know, wasting my time. I had to look at it though. You have now their name, phone number, and address, and they're probably wanting to sell again in the future. So you have a lead. It just may not be right now. Maybe it's in 6 months. And all we care about is name, phone number, and addresses, right? You know, because we're just adding to our database.
Yeah.
So that's one example of just being in that app and taking, and inside the letter. So what we do is we have the letter, and it's in a manila 8.5 by 11 manila envelope. So it's not folded up, you know, it's the size of a paper, so it sticks out. And in there is also a blank contract, and with our agent's information on it, and the expiration of the offer is already, you know, expired by the time it's mailed. So they can't just write in whatever terms they want and sign it. But in where it says price, he wrote, just let us know what you want. Because in this market, right, you know, we need, you know, you're going $15,000, $20,000, $50,000 depending on your market above list price. So let us know the terms that you want: price, closing dates, possession time. And, you know, that's just one example. And I got that blank contract from another room in Clubhouse. I got that idea from a guy who did it up in Canada.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. You know, so that's just one example. And our agents are probably tired of me talking about it, but I talk about it all the time, and I'm in it every single day. I lead a room, the daily real estate, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
And it's for anyone in the real estate space. So if you guys want to jump on, please jump on. But it's an extension of the daily huddle that we used to do when our team was smaller, and that I know a lot of real estate teams do. I'm just opening it up for whoever wants to join. We go over good news, any current challenges they're facing, and any goals they're looking to hit. Or if they want to, have a question or want to talk about a topic, we can. And we've had people from Canada, Michigan, all over join us. So
Michigan's kind of like Canada. There's just another country.
Yeah. I mean, we got, we have an appraiser in. We have home warranty people in there. We have lenders in there. My biggest thing is I'm a big believer that I can take different things away from different industries and apply it to the real estate business. So I want to make sure I'm tapping into all of my resources and understanding, how does a roofer generate business, right? What are they doing? Are they word of mouth? Are they doing mailers? What's going on? And how can I apply that to my business and to the team's business?
Yeah, that's so key. That's such a great lesson, such a great point. If you're only paying attention to what's going on within your industry, you're only going to have plus or minus single digit, innovation and growth. If you want, double digit exponential, you're going to have to look outside of your industry and see what's working and be able to bring in and apply. And, Clubhouse is a great platform to be able to find those things that are working in other industries and be able to bring back and put it into your business.
Yeah. And to tell you the truth, for, EXP agents and what we're doing, it's been an amazing way for me to connect with other people in my market that I've been friends with on social media, but I haven't connected one-on-one. I've connected with so many people in there, whether it was a lunch, a coffee, a Zoom, whatever it may be. People just wanted to pick my brain about, how our team's set up. And it goes back to, hey, I'm an open book. Ask me anything and I'll tell you.
Right.
And it's allowed me to kind of build connections and build relationships with people that I've been social media friends with, but never met in real life.
Yeah. I love it, man. Mr. Jon, brother, I really appreciate you taking the time, making this a priority, jumping in and hanging out with us this morning. And for all of you guys listening in, make sure you go follow Jon on Clubhouse. What's is it the Jon Harp or what is the?
Yep. The Jon Harp.
Yep. Go follow him on Clubhouse. He's very, very active, very, in a lot of rooms, giving a lot of value. Jump in there with him, 8 Eastern every morning on in the room that he runs. And man, I really appreciate it. Thank you for jumping in with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And if anyone's in Clubhouse and they're in a room and they're getting a ton of value, please ping me in because I'm all about, I want to learn. I want to continue to learn. That's one of my my affirmations, right, is I want to become a better leader. In order to do that is I have to continue to learn. I have to be a better communicator and all of those things. So, please ping me into those rooms if you're in Clubhouse or if you have a book that I should read. I got a list of books stacked up that I got to get to, but I just keep adding on top and on top.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but I appreciate you having me on, Jon. And I'm glad I was able to come in here and share. And just what you're doing for our community is amazing, obviously. And, just pouring on into us and giving back to us is amazing.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks for coming in and adding a ton of value. Great conversation, and can't wait to connect with you soon.
Awesome.
Thanks
for having me.
Guys. All right. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks.